What's up, Cap?
Morning, John.
Well,
What
let's
fine
see.
establishment are you in today?
I am in a fine establishment that I think was built in the 1980s because it is. And here's how I kind of surmised this. You know how like the 70s and the 80s hotels, they would try to make them almost look like New Mexico exploded, and it's like Art Deco and weird shapes, and it's not a uniformed building, and it's like a 3-story thing that almost looks like it could sub as an office park, and
It's called
you got
style,
all the
John.
yes, something I don't have, and so all the different sizes of the chimneys and roofs and everything. That's where we are. We're in Huntsville, Alabama, getting ready for the blast-off battle here with Huntsville City Football Club and UAH and Tormenta and Chattanooga FC, and it's a kickoff tournament. We're broadcasting them this weekend. And so as I chase after, hotels in one particular brand, because I always want to stick with one brand. You don't want to get like the frequent brand points from like 9 different hotels because it doesn't do you any good. It's like you fly one airline, you stick with one hotel. That's traditionally how it is.
That's right.
And I'm here at this hotel that looks like it came right out of the 1980s. So that's where I am today. I'm in Huntsville, Alabama. I'm not at Space Camp. I'm not floating weightless, but I am in a 1980s hotel.
I was down in Huntsville last week. Visiting.
Oh, you were, sir. Why were you in Huntsville last?
Well, that's the HQ for the tech company that I help out, RippleWorks. They're down in Huntsville, Alabama. So I was down there for a couple meetings.
Wow. So what do I get any intel about? Do I get any intel about your visits? Where do I go? What do I need to do? Who do I need to see? What's going on? I need the Michael Parkhurst faux doors for Huntsville here.
You know what? I stayed with a friend. I didn't really go out and see much. Their offices are downtown, so we were just down there and hit a couple of restaurants and a coffee shop, and that's about it.
Okay. All right. So
I can't
I'm not
really
a coffee.
tell you.
Nothing. That's all cool. I mean, so I will defer to you and your judgment in the future when it comes to cities like this. I need to ask you ahead of time. Hey, where'd you go to get stuff? Okay. It's a Friday, but it's the last Friday of preseason. When you were a player, were you just to the point where it's like, come on, man, let's get this over with? Can we go ahead and start games for real? Or were you in situations where you're like, yeah, I think we do need the work? What did you think of preseason in general?
Yeah, it's a good question. I felt like, yes, we needed the fitness for sure. And I think it depends on the team. Atlanta United, those first couple of years, we needed the games, right? We needed the extra reps and just getting used to each other and figuring things out and style of play and all that. But, for teams that are more or less sticking together, they've got the same coaching staff, right? A lot of the same roster, then I think it's a little bit less important. I mean, you're just trying to make sure that you feel fit and sharp and most importantly, stay healthy. So
was there ever, I guess, go for it. Oh, I thought you were. Do you need to hydrate, sir? Do you need to hydrate quickly?
This is 2 times in a row, John.
Nothing wrong with hydration, sir. We need you. We need you at your peak. We need
butter
you at
in
your
the
peak
coffee.
Oh yeah. Did you hear about this? Did you hear about this
I
stuff?
saw Dax's post and I commented on it and I said straight to jail.
I first off, I am not a coffee person, and the notion and we went through the dynamics of it because apparently it it pulls certain elements out of the coffee, adds like a caffeinated element, and it helps you with your caloric intake and burning calories and all these kinds of things. It makes it like coffee that is like on fire with caffeine and does just rips your body to shreds and turns you into the Incredible Hulk or something. But I mean, First off, we need you to talk to Dax because we need to know who this individual is that needs to go straight to jail. I'm glad you brought this up because we need to find out who this individual is. Not to publicly shun them and put them in in the stuff in the 1700s where you're in the public square and people throw apples at you. But we need to know the rationale here. It's like, dude, why are you doing this? Do you actually like the taste of this kind of stuff?
Yeah, that I'm curious about that. Is it a taste thing or is it like a health benefit thing?
It's like a health benefit working out kind of a deal. Like it burns calories and it like makes you more in tune, and it's like it super caffeinates you and it pulls out calories and it gives you even more energy. I think that's what it all is.
Well, I can understand that a lot more than a taste thing. So, I know that guys do some crazy things for health benefits, and hey, to each their own, right? If they believe in it, then it's helping them one way or another. So, I can understand that a little bit, I guess.
All right, so you've piqued my interest. Who did the stuff that's off the page when it came to health benefits and goofy and weird stuff where they would end up going straight to jail, but to each their own. Who are some of the? You can give names if you want, but what did folks do? Let me phrase it this way so you don't get in any trouble. What did folks do that was off the rails for their fitnessy stuff that you would sit there and go, "There's no way in where that I would ever do something like that"? Who did weird stuff?
It's not necessarily that is weird. I'll give you that. But I don't remember too many weird things so much as like just over the top, like like I won't eat a hamburger, or hamburgers are bad for me type thing. Or I played with a goalie in Columbus. He was really, really strict about his diet and was like very, very little carbs, like very, very little sugar, basically nothing enjoyable and fun. And I was like, hey,
sounds very un-American.
Yeah, I was like, hey, good for you. I guess I don't really care to be that healthy. But you got a balance between enjoying life as well. But that's the beauty of preseason, right? Where you get to know guys a little bit more, like kind of what guys are into, what makes them tick, like little things like this. Like you don't get that without preseason, without being around each other for 2 weeks straight. I remember the first time I saw guys put sugar on watermelon and sugar on pineapple, and it's like, man, you just learn different things that guys done, and you're like, wow, this is crazy.
I would never do any of that stuff. That's just, sugar on things that already have those kinds of. Okay, I'm stunned. I'm gonna have to go back and listen to
Central American Caribbean process.
Yeah. So when it comes to your mentees, and I know that this is kind of a part of that as well. It's like, yeah, do they? Are you privy to their other habits outside of the sport that you can walk them through and try to understand as a part of their greater dynamics? Or you mentioned to each their own. How different are your mentees when it comes to their approaches about learning and their approaches about all of the different pieces that make them who they are? Do you get into that depth of an idea when it comes to learning about your mentees?
Yeah, we try to, for sure, because that's one of the things we try to connect. Hey, that we as professional athletes is a 24/7 athlete thing. Meaning, hey, whatever you do throughout the day is going to affect your job and how you play, including what you put in your body. Now, kids don't need to be 24/7 athletes because they're not getting paid to do it, but they do need to understand how all these things fit within the puzzle. And so we do talk to them about nutrition, but we also say, hey, you need to have about like a 70-30, right? Like, hey, eat healthy 70% of the time, and 30% of the time go enjoy yourself and eat whatever you want, have Chick-fil-A and pizza and all these other things, right? Like, hey, you need to live. Because if you just try and go cold turkey or try and go 90-10, it's like then you binge or you feel bad about doing those 10% or more, right? And you don't want to have an unhealthy lifestyle like that where it's unsustainable. So we always talk about like, hey, understand what's healthy and what's not, first of all, right? What's going to help you and what's not going to help you. And then at least you're making informed decisions about like, hey, how am I feeling? How's my body feel? Like being in tune to how does your body feel after you eat such a meal? Or how do you feel on game day when you eat this for pregame? And those types of things, like finding out, hey, what works for your body.
So when it comes to your mentees, I mean, have you come across some folks that you've had to sit there and say, it's like, okay, you're at 90-10. It's cool to, I mean, for you and Greg to say these kinds of things is one thing. For you to learn them coming back the other, I would imagine it's another. Have you been privy to situations with mentees that are that 90-10 and they're so gung-ho about wanting to succeed that they're still not enjoying themselves when they should be as a young person?
As far as training, yes. As far as diet,
Yeah.
no.
Yeah.
But training, yes, where it's like, they're going 6.5 to 7 days a week and, concerned about this or that. And, it's like, hey, you need to reevaluate here a little bit and, don't be too concerned about, taking a day off or what that's going to do. And because we talk about, wear and tear, physically, the grind mentally, and how important it is to have these time periods off, whether it's a day in a week or a week in a year, right? These time periods. And one of the things we talk to him about, and a telltale sign that, hey, you're hitting that peak is, do you really look forward to training every day? Right? Are you super excited to go? Like, do you have a smile on your face? Is it the best part of your day? Like, can't wait to get there. And if it's not, then you need to cut back a little bit. And I know that you still need to go to team training, but like, hey, cut back on some of these other things and enjoy your days off and time away, so that, right, maybe that it does spark that love again. Where, okay, if I don't play soccer for a couple days, now all of a sudden, yeah, I am looking forward to going back. All right, so that's always one of the telltale signs.
How many, I mean, I know that this is a generational thing, and you triggered something, in my head about this. I know that when I was growing up back in the late 1700s, I was a teenager back in like 1798. We always took time away from our organized sports to hang out with the kids in the neighborhood. It would always be one of those things where we're outside until the stereotypic moment happens where your parents on the front porch and they yell for your name. It's like, sun's coming down, you're playing under street lights, then it's time to go home. And you still did that and the organized sports. Today, I would imagine for the young athletes that you're having the opportunity to be a mentor for, I don't know if they have those kinds of separations in their existence. I don't know how much enjoyment they're actually having outside of that line that they think that they have to go down to be a success. And I've got to do this. How much separation? I mean, is there any separation these days, or is it the be all end all, that one direction? Are they enjoying themselves these days at times? I mean, it seems like that. It seems like it's rough for them to enjoy themselves because of how they're driven.
Yeah, and I think that they're just, well, one, I think that the specialization definitely starts earlier than it did for us, and it's being pushed. And we've talked about it in the past where there's either the rec side or there's the competitive side, and there's not much in between. And if you are in the competitive side, it's almost year round, in a lot of instances. So I get that, but I also think a lot of players, especially the ones that we mentor, enjoy it. We do come across a few that are more driven by mom and dad than they are internally. Uh, so that poses some challenges, but most of them are kind of embracing it and they enjoy it. That doesn't mean that we still don't encourage them to hit the brakes every now and then, because hey, it's a longevity thing, right? Even if they love it, I think that there's studies coming out about injuries and things where it's just like, hey, you're playing the same sport year round, and it's just a lot on the body. So there's a whole host of factors of why time off is important, and playing other things and doing other things, besides just being a kid and enjoying it. So yeah, it's tough. It's a tough environment though, because I get it that it's super competitive, and to have success at a young age, like there's so many younger athletes getting this individual training and extra work, and if you're not getting that, are you falling behind? But I definitely believe that you know it, it's down to the internal drive. Talent plays a role in it for sure. Um, you have to have some athletic talent in order to be successful. But then the rest is just enjoying yourself and the internal drive to get better.
Michael Parkhurst on the Friday Free Kick, hanging out with us here on SDH, and our friends at Beyond Goals Mentoring, at MF Parkhurst, at BG Mentoring on the 280 character app. You mentioned pressure, and I would imagine, but I don't know the balance. I don't know the percentages, especially these days. I don't know how much pressure is internal when it comes to our younger people and the those that you would be a mentor for, and how much of it is external, whether it's peer pressure, whether it's parents, whether it's all of these different external factors that they're having to deal with. When it comes to the younger people of today, and the ones that you get to either see and or interact with as mentor to mentee, how are they handling? Are they as a group handling it well? Are they handling it better than we might have when it came to all of the external pressures growing up? How are your mentees handling this pressure? Are they handling it well these days as a group?
Um,
And I know that's kind of a nebulous question, and it's got a kind of wide ranging, and you can take it
yeah,
wherever you want. But I mean, I think of it as like, we dealt with pressure. I dealt with pressure in a certain way. You dealt with pressure in a certain way growing up. When you compare how you dealt with pressure growing up, whether internal or external or both, and you see how it's coming out and manifesting itself in your mentees these days, is it any different? Are they handling it better than we did? Are we learning from younger people about how to handle pressure these days? I guess, is it a two-way street? Are we learning as much from them as they're learning from us at the same time?
for sure. I think that kids are resilient and they're strong, and they always have been, right? We're probably stronger when we were kids than we are now as adults in some
Yeah.
facets. And I think we've talked before, right? The pressures that they face are so much more than what we did.
Yeah.
Not only on the field with, in academy life where it's like, basically a tryout every season, um, but also just off the field, and pressures and social media and image stuff and just stuff at school. And there's a lot that they have to go through and deal with. And so I think that for the most part, they do a pretty good job.
Okay.
We as parents can probably help out there, with school and sport, and helping them a little bit, and not putting the pressure, or trying to put the pressure on them, right, to obviously do well in school and their sport. But I really don't put any pressure on my kids to do well in sport. It's totally up to them. And I've seen right now where neither of them have really taken it by the horns and been like, yeah, I really want to be good at this, which hurts a little bit. Obviously, you want that, just because how much I enjoyed it and how good the game was to me, where it's like I can see they've got the natural athletic ability if they wanted to apply themselves, but they don't right now. But I have seen a small change in my daughter all of a sudden, who's 13. And now, I don't know, something has clicked in the last few weeks where she actually wants to work out and she wants to hit the ball in the backyard. And she talks about what she eats, and not in an unhealthy way, but having protein bars as a snack. And little things where I've noticed where that internal motivation is starting to kick in. And I love to see it. But, so getting back to the pressure thing, yeah, that's definitely one of the things that we talk to our mentees a lot about, obviously, because a lot of the kids that come to us are dealing with issues of pressure, and how to handle it. And I see it a lot at the academy level. And I can understand why, especially for the newer kids within an academy who aren't having success right away, who are struggling to adapt. It's tough. But at least they're getting help. And I think that parents are a little bit more educated on maybe how to help and how to deal with it a little bit. So that's great.
All right. So Michael Valverde with a question for us. And it is, do you think it helps or hurts for kids moving up to play games where they get thrashed, or is it better to get them on a team that can be competitive?
I think in the beginning, if kids aren't having fun, they will not like the sport and they don't want to continue. Does that mean they have to be winning every game? No. But that was a concern I had for my son 2 years ago when he joined a new team and his team was not good and they got thrashed, and he came back crying multiple times. I mean, they weren't even finishing the game. They're getting run ruled. Each kid was getting one at bat. It was rough. And I was fearful that he was going to lose his love of baseball because, he just wasn't enjoying going to a game anymore. Right. So there's a balance for sure. Right. Can we get a lot better by getting thrashed every now and then? Absolutely. It can teach us a lot. But if it's a constant thing, I don't think it's a benefit. I don't. It takes a really strong child to be able to deal with that. There's a lot of Atlanta United kids who play up a year who then struggle with the pace of the play and the physicality, right? These kids are growing at all different rates and things, and they struggle individually a little bit to adapt, and that I think is okay because they're still part of a team environment that's having success, and they're just getting pushed. And I tell them, hey, these types of environments will make you much stronger in the future. And same thing with getting thrashed here and there. So that's what my answer would be. Getting thrashed week in and week out is usually going to do more harm than good, in my opinion.
Then Dell comes in, and Dell is with us from Charleston. He's our resident Charleston Battery fan and gives us the 411 on them. He says he feels like Americans practice soccer too much and don't get to play as much pickup as other countries. And to that point, I remember seeing Gino Auriemma. He was giving one of his sit downs, and he was comparing, and he wasn't a fan of how things are with the AAU game versus how things are with Europe. And the European players in basketball, they would come over to the United States, and everybody in the United States would be just in awe of them and their game. And, you've got guys who are 6'9", 6'10", who can handle it like a point guard. And he said that the point was the European players, they practice most of the week and only play on the weekends. Whereas the AAU folks in the States, they're playing all the time. They may have great natural ability, but they're not spending any time practicing. And so that's why Gino was worried about the state of play in the United States versus how things are developing over in Europe. So along those lines, do Americans practice too much, I guess, on the flip side, and not play as much pickup as other countries, do you think?
Yeah, it's interesting, right? Sport to sport, the differences and what's viewed as positive and negative. And I understand that, hey, there's and it's not just an American thing. I think that the approach to tactics, right, where it's like how much is too much, and this is coach to coach, it differs, right, where it's like, hey, how robotic do you have your team play versus, okay, hey, you need to have the freedom and the mindset to figure it out and play freely and do your thing out there, versus like, hey, when the ball goes here, you go there, and this and that, right? And that's the downside to like Pep or Berhalter sometimes, where it's like, hey, it's a little robotic and you don't have enough freedom, versus a coach that, hey, go out there and have all freedom, right? It's somewhere in the middle. I lean towards more tactics, but I don't know, it's just preference. But yeah, I don't know. The practice thing is challenging, and I think it comes down to like how the practice is structured and what's going on, because unfortunately, and this is just from what I see in my experience, if kids aren't going to practice, they're not playing pickup with friends, they're on screens. And so going to a practice is better than the screens. But yeah, within practice, I think coaches could do more of like, hey, let's play 6-on-6 tournament here. Let's play, small sided games tournaments. And like, we don't have to work on anything today. Let's just go out there, have fun, compete, and play against each other and do more of that. I had a young coach when I was like between the age of like 8 and 12, or maybe 7 and 12. And especially indoor, every time we showed up, you just got a bib. This was your team. And it was like, score, you stay on, lose, you're out. And that was the practice. You literally just showed up and you played the whole time. And it was amazing. And we loved it.
All right. Before you go, updates on Beyond Goals. I know that we're in the high school season. We're doing games, 3 games, 3 days a week. We're doing high school games. And Rhode Island FC, I see what's over that right shoulder. I see what's going on over there. So what's the latest with the Beyond Goals and with RIFC?
Yeah, we've spoken to a few more schools, which has been awesome. Those experiences are always really great. Kids are engaging, which is awesome. We are having our first virtual video analysis session. So we're excited about that. It's open for anybody. Where we're going to focus on defenders. So Greg and I are just going to have a Zoom, and we're going to have some clips of professional games. We're going to go over some things about defenders. So that'll be fun. We're looking forward to that. And then Rhode Island is coming back from IMG today, I think. And yeah, we are 1 month from today, kicking off. 50 days till Charleston. Mm-hmm. Yeah, but we got more important games to worry about. But yeah, we're 1 month from today is kickoff. So against New Mexico. So we're excited.
You should be. It's going to be fun. And we will add the Rhode Island FC questions to everything else that's going on. Thanks as always, my friend. When you get to come in and pop in, it's always great to A, see you, and B, kind of just pick your brain a little bit about everything that's going on, especially with mentoring and having the younger generations learn and going forward. Cap, it's always great to catch up with you, my friend. We'll catch up with you in a couple of weeks.
Enjoy your time in Huntsville.